Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for a brand new show. Last week I finished off Heavenly Delusion, which was a wild ride, and in the final episode I announced something a little bit unusual that I already knew what show I was going to watch next. And here we are to watch it. I am bedecked and star-spangled, which I hope is at least a little bit relevant. We'll find out. And I know a little bit about this show, a little bit more than something as crazy as Heavenly Delusion, which ended up being like a huge layered mystery box of things that absolutely I did not understand going in, and was glad to. But after the crazy, wild roller coaster ride that was Heavenly Delusion, I was looking for something a little bit more down to earth, pun intended. And I found it in the runner up for that poll. When I ran the Wandering Wednesday poll as the third of my three third impact poll situation things, I was very surprised to pull up the details, the graphs, the information, and find that I could not, off the visual of the graphs, know which had actually won. So I mathed it, and Heavenly Delusion took the prize, but only by a hair's breadth, by the finest, thinnest margin that I've had in a poll that wasn't manipulable. I had a period of polling where people could like see the results of the poll, and so people would go and they'd vote, they'd vote and vote and vote and vote to try to get two shows to be exactly even at the end of the thing, in the hopes that I would be forced to watch both of them. That era is gone, and I've been using Google Forms and a different method for polling and stuff. So this is the finest margin that we've had between two shows, first and second place, since I changed the polling format. And what that meant to me was that there are a whole lot of people who really want to watch this other show, almost exactly as many as wanted to watch the show that we just watched, and it felt crazy to put that back through the polling system again and hope that it comes through, or like manipulate the poll so it's the only obvious option. Fuck all that. I just want to watch it. So, I'm happy to announce that today we will be diving into episode 1 of season 1 of Orb on the Movements of the Earth, which is in Japanese titled Chi Chikyu no Undo ni Tsuite. Cool. I've also seen that translated about the movement of the Earth, which I really like because it's got a little fiddly bit in the word about. About means like about something. This is a story about all about how I got my life flipped, turned upside down, something Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But about also means around, going around. So like about the movements of the Earth means circling around it, and that might be precisely relevant. It's just a little teeny tiny piece of wordplay, and it's not the only thing that has struck me as interesting about this show. The second thing that struck me as interesting about this show is that it's coming out of Madhouse. And anytime I see a show coming out of Madhouse, I can be pretty sure that there are going to be some staff members I recognize on it. And there are. This show is directed by Kenichi Shimizu, formerly director of Parasite the Maxim, and longtime contributor to a whole bunch of Madhouse stuff. I don't know if this is going to look like Parasite the Maxim. This is an odd one because I haven't seen all of Parasite, and the reason for that is that I don't like the way that it looks. I don't like the aesthetic sense of it. It's kind of gray and bland to me. Maybe with a more modern eye and having ingested more anime, I'll have a different opinion of it if I ever return to it. But I'm curious to see if I get the same sort of turned offness to this. I sure as heck hope not. But that's not where the connections stop. It turns out that we are in the season of Ushio, everybody. I didn't realize it, but this year I have watched a whole lot of shows with music by Kensuke Ushio. Chainsaw Man, the Chainsaw Man movie, Dan to Dan, still currently watching, just about to finish it, Tengoku Daimakyo, Heavenly Delusion, which we just finished, Chainsaw Man's Reze arc, which we watched just a couple months ago, and now Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Kensuke Ushio is goddamn prolific, and I gotta say, in each of those shows that we've watched, we have commented on and noted how cool and interesting and good and well incorporated and integrated the music is for telling the story. I think that Ushio is kicking ass on the music side of the anime industry, and so I'm really excited to see what he does with another, but very different tonally, series. And can he bring and instill in a show that promises epic scale, at least in the imagination, at least in the mind. Can Ushio bring a little bit of that full orchestral epicness that I associate with like Holtz's The Planets? Did I get that right? Holst, not Holtz, Holst's The Planets. Other, Hans Zimmer tracks, interstellar stuff. Can we do that? Can we have those vibes while we're doing things in a grounded way on Earth? Because I believe that this will be a journey not out into the world, not out through space and time, but instead into the mind and through it to something close to truth, something close to science. I'm very excited. And I'm very excited to see how Kensuke Ushio accents that. Matching up Kensuke Ushio's music and the rest of the sound effects to the anime itself will be sound director Kisuke Koizumi, who also worked on Chainsaw Man, although not the Reze arc movie, and a couple of other big things like Dororo and other things, but nothing quite as popular quite as recently. Between Shimizu, Ushio, and Koizumi, and a whole boatload of other people, animation directors, chief animation directors for each episode, and it's going to get much more interesting as we go through, we have the stacked kind of talent that you can expect from a Madhouse production, turned to a very interesting topic. See, about 400 years ago, at the end of the 1500s and beginning of the 1600s, a man in his 30s and then 40s named Galileo, named after the place he came from, Galilee, began to take an interest in mathematics. He had initially attempted to become a doctor and avoid math and geometry because it didn't pay as well, but the story goes that he found himself fascinated by a swinging chandelier, and from it extrapolated some of the laws governing pendular motion, something like that. And that kickstarted a journey, a lifetime journey of discovery, innovation, invention, creation, and new ideas that threatened the social, political, and religious fabric of his day. This is not Galileo Galilei's story. This is a piece of historical fiction that I believe will match some elements of it. So I do not expect that we will be in Italy, in France, in England, in these specific locations. I do not expect that the royals and priests and kings and queens that we might meet over the course of this journey will be real people. But I do expect some attention to detail, some attention to the time period, and some attempt to make this feel less like fantasy and more like a story that absolutely could have happened, even if it did not actually happen in our history. And I'm really excited to see what can be done in that sort of fictional context. Over the course of Vinland Saga, we met all sorts of important historical figures, some of whom were very much aligned with their historical personages, and some of whom were changed, altered, and made into fictional characters in order to serve the story. And that's fine with me. I think it's great. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. I like historical fiction. I love science, and I am continuously fascinated by the ongoing battle between human assumptions, intuitions, and deeply held beliefs, and this very new technology that we have invented just a few hundred years ago that enables us to question those assumptions and beliefs and replace them piece by piece with something approximating truth. It is the greatest change that humans have come up with, and it has had the most dramatic impact on our daily lives that I think any set of ideas for a very, very long time has had. I think an argument could be made for like monotheism as the greatest developmental stage for human intellectual evolution, because it sets the stage. If we believe Nietzsche, if we believe Jung, it sort of sets the stage for a coagulation of beliefs and a transference of belief in one holy thing to the holiness of science. But the scientific method and the ability to prove, validate, question, and that's the most important thing, question the things that we hold as obvious, is the foundation of everything in our modern world that we consider modern. Our whole understanding of reality is based on it, and that took some doing. Galileo is famous because he came up against significant backlash from the church, the nobility, and from all of those in power. His view, which was not his invention necessarily, it was a confirmation of views put forward by Copernicus a good while beforehand. His view was considered heretical, antithetical to the Christian, earth-centric worldview that dominated the mind for many hundreds of years before him. And it makes a lot of sense why. If we, humanity, are the chosen, if we are the sole and most important creations of a conscious God, then we must be at the center of things. And if we are not, in fact, at the center of things, if we are not the heavenly firmament around which the entirety of the universe revolves, then there's the distinct possibility that we were not created with intent at all, that our rock is not central to reality, but is just a piece of debris floating in space, circling around something else much larger, much greater, and much less religious in its significance. A belief that the sun is at the center of our solar system and that we are on a rock that is not unique, but like many other rocks, like Venus, which Galileo proved had phases, like Jupiter and its moons, which Galileo proved orbited Jupiter, not the Earth. If we are just like them, then we're not that special. And the idea, the belief that we are the center of everything falls apart. And that's a really hard thing to deal with. If you think you're at the center of the universe and you come across evidence that you're not actually at the center of the universe, that might not go over so well, especially if you happen to be in a position of literal in-world authority and power over people because you tell them that you're the direct line messenger from whatever put them at the center of the universe to them. And now that's all in question. And all of this happening in the middle of the hundreds of years of the religious wars between England and France and everybody and the Protestant Reformation and all these things, there's already a lot of chaos going on in religion. And that means that if you are in the authoritarian position of using religion to firm your authority up, I don't know why I'm doing this, to firm your authority up, somebody threatening that with this newfangled science stuff and what they say is proof, something that you can never bring forth, first, because the actual evidence doesn't back you up, and second, because every bit of evidence that you have is written down by human beings who are, guess what, fallible. That might be a real threat to your power. So, I don't know who we're going to follow in this series. I've seen pictures of a boy with blonde hair, and I assume that's going to be our guy. I assume he is going to take on a role very much like that of Galileo Galilei, but I don't know. And I think I've covered all of the core thematic cloud that I want to here. And I think we're just about ready to dive into the episode. Before we do, I'm going to do the first in this show of something that I do at the beginning of pretty much every show, every episode of every show now, which is a drawing. This one's going to be really simple, so it's not going to take very long, but I'm going to pull a camera down, speed this up, do a little drawing. It helps me get my mind right. And I'm also continuously working on attempting to improve my very mediocre skills as an artist because I want to be able to convey things in the same kind of media that I find so damn compelling in anime. It feels like a wasted opportunity to ingest all of this incredible art and not try to convert it and turn it into something as output as well. So that's part of the reason that I end up doing this. But there's one from yesterday, and I'm gonna do another one right now. That's it. You've all probably seen like studies of an egg or a ball where the whole focus is on the gradation of shading through it. And that's kind of what I wanted to do here, but I just wanted the shadow. I didn't want the actual outline of the ball or any of the highlights because in my mind, those are extrapolations. They're not really there. The whole thing blends into the background. We can only see the shadows, and it's from those shadows that we have to guess at the reality behind them. Something like Plato's allegory, yeah? We don't really see reality. We see the movements of things and intuiting the underlying truths that bind them, that cause their motion, that cause the planets to orbit around the sun, that cause the light to fall where it falls, that causes shadows to appear where they appear. These are all like the second order of the reality that we're actually experiencing. And that's kind of what I wanted to capture with this extremely simple drawing. Oh, good. When it's up there and gets kind of blown out by the light and kind of fuzzy because it's back behind where the camera's focus layer is, it looks even better to me to what I was trying to achieve, which is this sort of blurry thing that you can kind of make out, and your brain can very easily put together that that's a ball on a surface, even though those details aren't there. I really like that. I like that about our eyes and the way that we see. It's really interesting, but it's also something that we have to look out for because we will extrapolate incorrectly. Kind of like an AI trying to fill in an image and it just fills it in with weird garbage. You're like, what? Why is that what it came up with? But our brains do that kind of stuff all the time. We fill in the gaps and we don't always fill them in accurately. And the same goes for our explanations of things. Just earlier today, I was watching a YouTube video by an economist who was talking about all sorts of things. It doesn't really matter. But the thing that I took from it was an idea that is backed by some science that the conscious brain is not the deciding brain, it is the storytelling brain. It tells us the story of what we have done and why after the fact, not actually deciding what to do, but telling us why we did it retroactively. And piecing together a ball and putting together all the parts of it fits that somehow to me. It fits that making stories and meaning making that we do out of strange incomplete symbols. We intuit great and important meaning, and often that meaning ends up being anthropocentric, us focused. Ends up being we are the kings of this world, obviously. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, I think that's it, y'all. I'm ready to watch Orb on the Movements of the Earth Episode 1. I have gone and downloaded the Tenrai Sensei Blu-ray disc rip version of this, which has subs by Kawa Subs, and Tenrai Sensei has treated me well with versions before. If this is a bad version or there is a better one, please let me know as soon as possible in the Discord or in the comments, and I will switch immediately. There will be 2 versions of this and every reaction video going forward through this series. The one that you're watching right now on YouTube will have the beginning discussion and the end discussion, which should be pretty deep. Locked on into it. It will also be a timer-based version. So there will be a little strip of the anime down here at the bottom with the subtitles for syncing up, and there will be a timer over here in the corner that will have the actual timestamp at which I'm in the episode. At the very beginning of the episode, there will be what I call a beep beep timer, which will go boop, 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 beep, and red, yellow, yellow, green. On the green light and the beep, kind of like a race car start. It's actually literally modeled after a race car start. I made it years ago. Yeah, on the green light, that will have been synced up in post to the exact frame that the video starts playing on my screen. So if you smash your spacebar or whatever button you have bound to play pause at the same moment that that happens, then we'll be all synced up and good to go. You can also find the picture-in-picture versions linked in the description. Those are there as a resource for your ease of viewing, especially if you're on mobile. Come back to the timer-based version for the discussion at the end and for the deep divey analysis stuff that I hope that I'm known for. It's kind of what I bring to the table that's different than sitting here and going like, wow, crazy, is a desire to learn from the anime and from the animation and also the themes and all the stuff. I love unpacking this stuff. I think that anime is the densest and most interesting mass media of our time. And, a weird and wonderful way, it's like a window directly into the collective unconscious of our global society, of our civilization. The themes and ideas presented in these popular shows, and Orb is honestly a relatively popular show. It is currently sitting in the top 50 on my anime list, which was quite surprising to me when I looked it up. I thought it would be quite a bit lower. I'm sure it will fall down as recency bias causes other things to churn up above it, but that is quite a showing for a sort of low-key styled show that doesn't have the big action bangeriness of something like Jujutsu Kaisen. It's cool to see it getting some love, and hopefully that converts to people wanting to see reactions of it, diving in and digging deeper into it. Um, I love watching these shows. They feel like a window into the collective unconscious of our civilization, and I'm really curious to see what this one reveals to us. Let's give it a watch. I have episode 1 up and ready to go. It's at 0 seconds, 2 versions, picture in picture in the description, early access on the Patreon, and subscribe while you're down there in the description. Beep beep timer to count you down. Heliocentrism. How about that? Okay, classic trade. That's a framing. I'll accept it. But we're also offering these as sacrifices, offerings. Oh, blood. Hmm. His mouth is torn open. What weird shit does he have stuck in his fucking mouth? Is this a weird torture thing? That's beautiful. Early 15th century. So that's the 1400s in the Kingdom of P. God, that is ethereal. With the bells and the ooh, and the pour. So we have a divide, we have a class difference, dramatic. Hello, main character boy, who's definitely not a JoJo's character. All right, we got urchin stealing shoes. He's well dressed. Student? Okay, that's very interesting. Our first introduction to this character is somebody speaking to him and no dialogue. It's like he's distant, detached. We pulling fingernails out? Who's this voice actor? I've heard him recently. Oh. I mean, that's not true. That's really simple. Oh my god, where have I heard him? Like recently in Vinland Saga, I feel like? I gotta figure out who that character is. Oh. Oh. Now, has he? We're gonna do it. Look on ye. Gah! Gah! Good times. Hmm. No, but we do have power over human minds. Ah, annoying. Yeah, exactly. Ah, man. Yeah, what are you gonna do after that, man? It's not like you have worse tortures. Are you sure, dude? Oh, yeah, you got feet, too. You grow your own torture, bud. We'll keep you for a long time. Oh, that was fun. These shots remind me of, like, Mushoku Tensei. Us, duh. Hi, hi! Yeah, the fifth element heart. That's it, buddy. God's love for mankind. Rafal. Mochiron. Yeah, of course. Oh. Huh. Father's a professor. The big leagues, he got drafted? Whoa. He's one of those Harvard wonderkins. That works much better than a 30-something-year-old man deciding he finally wants to study science. Sure. The truth of truth. Why wouldn't you? Of course. Okay, he's gonna have quite a fall from illusion, isn't he? Ah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I wonder how much of a little shit he really is. Because that's like a good speech. It's exactly the kind of, like, narcissistic manipulator speech that you get. Yeah, there we go. I thought so. This is a cool, very modern track. So you got yourself in with this teacher. Okay. Golden mean. An aesthetic sensibility. This is accurate to Galileo. That part I don't know. I don't know if he's actually totally self-centered. You don't want to. You don't want to tall poppy yourself either. You don't want that. Uh-oh. But he likes it, but some things must not be said. Y'all see his collar? Yeah, please don't blaspheme in the classroom. Yeah. Okay. And that's our first retraction. There are things you do not say, and when you say them, you pull it back. Mm-hmm. And now he's going to end up in a space where he has to say aloud things that are not believed. This is going to be a fall from grace, huh? Are we in Germany-ish? Huh? Oh, of course. Uberto. Is he our gateway? Ah. As long as you toe the line. It's an add-on to his, like, if you do this, 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 and this, then you can live a comfortable life. As long as you don't piss off the wrong people. As long as you don't study the wrong things. As long as you stay in your lane. And the story ends there. And he became religious and everything was fine. Hmm. We haven't even looked up at that. There it is. We haven't even looked up at the sky and the stars yet. Music. Ooh. Hmm. It calls to you, Raphael. How can you forget about all of reality? Yeah, and they wiggle. And yet they're right there out your window. And they called to you. I don't know. I think we're gonna like him. Mm-hmm. Oh, shit! Yeah, not a smart way to live. Totally normal. Everything's fine here. They did it to themselves. Oh, was that the torturer guy? Yeah. Huh. So he runs past the torturer for the first time. How's he gonna be doing? Ooh. Did he come here with the limp? Oh, he's a big boy. Oh my god, he's a big old boy. Oh, he's got the opened mouth. He's the guy from the first scene. Who's that? Who's that? I love him. Sir! No, 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 you please guide me. I think you know stuff, and I want to know that stuff. This has all been very meticulous in its timing and pacing and flow. Key tuzzle. How deep is his voice? Holy shit. There he goes again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Caught so hard. 4K definition. He sees straight through him. I love it. This is cool. Compelling character. You sure you want to know? Isn't it illegal to speak of it? I'm sure this guy is going to introduce to him the idea of heliocentrism. Ah. Mm. They're gonna be friends! Oh. Now you're assisting in heresy, bro. What? One does not abandon the truth. Sure, I'll recant to the church. Oh no, of course I have. Sick. Of course. Now you're in a dangerous place, Rafa. He thinks you're like him. Ah! Son of a bitch! He needs him. This means everything to him, huh? This is a crazy circumstance. But of course, putting him in that position puts him in the same position that you're in, where he's going to lie in order to survive. Uh huh. Sure. That tower? Oh, okay. 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 He really reminds me of the dude with the worms from Fate, you know? But then the voice is very much closer to Kotomine Kirei, but I don't think that's him. I wonder who it is. He lied. I love getting to see this mentality from him. Uh-huh. I'm not going no matter what. He's already there. So where are we? Oh. Mm. Hmm. Okay. I'll calculate the time retroactively from what you've calculated here. Wow, cool. It begins against his own better judgment. He's actually nervous. He's not sure he's right. And that means that the praise actually means something to him because it's not fake the way that the other people praise him. He's gonna tell him by the end of the episode, right? No. Maybe in passing. Of course! Uh-huh. Yeah. You know, something like this, something like that. Spirograph. Of course. Has to be. We're here. All assumptions. Solda. It's incredibly beautiful. In the way that something perfectly arranged might be. But I think he's looking for a no. He's going for a no. To be at the center of everything. Hmm. Can't deny the truth of it. Oh? Hmm. That doesn't justify it. That's absurd. Well, look at them. We are. And it clicks and it's so obvious, right? What if everything isn't moving around us, but we are moving through everything? It's not, but compared to us, it sure is. Mm. There it is. Reason and beauty become one. Heliocentrism, how about that? It said the title! Okay, I don't know if this is OP or ED. We'll listen through it. I'm gonna assume it's the OP. Way groovier than I expected. Is that red and blue stars the future to the past? That's a cool redshift note. Me too. Thanks, Kawa subs. Okay, thus ends episode 1 of Orb about the movements of the Earth. How about that? The cosmos is unified under a single order. Common sense is overturned. The church is enraged. Reason and beauty become one. A core of Enlightenment philosophy, the idea that beautiful things and true things are one and the same. But here he raises the question, is a perfectly arranged, earth-centered universe, cosmos, actually beautiful? And the answer turns out to be no. It's muddled and complicated. Fascinating! This is not the character I thought would be our central character for this show. I mean, in terms of who he is. I knew it would be a blonde boy, right? I saw him in a poster. But in terms of who he is, not what I expected. I would have expected him to be an inquisitive good boy, right? He's a good boy. And it turns out he is a good boy. He's a good boy who toes the line and does what he's told and does what he's supposed to. And knows that that is the path to mortal comfort. Don't rock the boat. Don't fuck with people who are more powerful than you. Don't be stupid. Manipulate who you can and make your way through this world comfortably. Don't do anything irrational or crazy. What happens when the rational, not crazy thing is crazy? What happens when it becomes insane, absurd, and irrational to continue towing the line, to continue pretending that the truth is what everybody tells you it must be? Raphael is set up here to come completely into conflict with his current self, the self that he believes as part of the socialization in the society that he's a part of, and against the entirety of that society himself. All of his connections, his father figure, the church. Oh, oh boy. What a setup. Okay, I think I need to start with voice actors, because I want to know who that torturer is, and gosh, I want to know who Hubert is. Gotta place that voice. I also want to know who Raphael is. Okay, torturer guy Nowak is Kenjiro Tsuda, very famous. He's Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen, and Kishibe from Chainsaw Man, which I believe is the last time that I was like, who is that voice actor? I totally recognize him. That was him then. Okay, cool. Hubert. Sho Hayami. Wait, that's Sosuke Aizen and the original Akira Fudo from Devilman. And Azami Nakiri from Shokugeki no Soma. Yeah, he's so many deep voiced peoples, but he's not from Fate. Oh, actually, he is from Fate. He plays Tokiomi Tosaka. Cool. And then our main Rafale. Oh, it's a woman. It's Maya Sakamoto. Oh, she's got a familiar name. Oh, she's Oshino Shinobu. That's quite a range. She play a lot of boys too. Oh, she's CL in Kuroshitsuji, Black Butler. She's Motoko Kusanagi throughout Ghost in the Shell. All of Ghost in the movie too. Wow, she's been in the industry for a long time. Oh, and she's Shiki Ryogi from all of the Kara no Kyokai movies. Oh, and she's Echidna from ReZero. Huh. I wouldn't have been able to clock any of those. That's fascinating. Cool. Okay, I just wanted to place a couple of voice actors because I really needed to understand Hubert and his deepness and general vibes on episode. There's a lot of emphasis on locations and small to medium details, facial expressions, hands holding things, gripping things, especially in this end scene when we're focused on sort of like the uncertainty of the moment and being stuck in a frame for a second. Um this pervasive threat is like a weight hanging over us. It's like a pressure that begins in the very opening. We know what happens to heretics. And so there's this pressure, 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 pressure. You're going to be one of them. Don't be one of them. Don't be one of them. You'll be under that same threat. It reminds me, strangely, maybe strangely, it reminds me more than anything of the beginning of the movie Minority Report. It's a weird pull from this, but Minority Report is a movie where they've got like precogs, and the precogs determine future crimes, and then there's a division of the police that goes and captures people before they do those crimes and arrests them literally for crimes that they haven't committed yet, with the certainty, the knowledge that they are certain that those crimes will 100% happen. And the whole like beginning of the movie is us following one of those dudes who's in the crime division who goes and believes in the whole thing, and he's like, the precog said that this dude is gonna commit a terrorism. I'm gonna go stop him from committing a terrorism, and whatever means necessary, I'm gonna bring to that. And then he gets called a future criminal, and the precogs do a thing, and that weight, all of that pressure, all of that feeling like, wow, sure glad that I'm on the good side of this system, and it's not going to come down and crush me. It all gets turned on to the main character, and so we do all this build up while we're part of the system, and build up this fear, this tension, this feeling like you could never go against that set of ideas. You would never. Why would you ever? Why would nothing you could be told would make you go and get tortured? You walk by the heretics burned on the street. Isn't all of this enough to keep people from doing heretical things? And for Rafal, it's not even a question. It's obvious. Of course, I'm not going to fuck around with crazy shit. I'm going to be rational and smart and live my simple life. I'm going to choose the best paths and choose theology because people praise me when I do, and choose to live with this guy because people praise me when I do, because I'll make money when I do, because I'll be respected when I do. Of course, nothing will ever make this all fall apart. Of course, those leopards won't eat my face. I'm a good boy. And now here we are on the other side, and the precog has said, you're about to do a heresy, bro. You're about to do a heresy. How long until Rafal finds his hands in that nail-pulling vice? He's a smart kid. He can dodge it for a while, but he's already connected to a known heretic. Oh no. Oh no. Reason and beauty become one. God, that's good. Let's go to the start. Let's go straight through it. We open on this monologue that I don't quite understand that's about transactions. But it's not just about transactions. The phrasing is about sacrifices, as though sacrifices to a deity. You get bread by offering coin. It's not that there's a price for bread and the price is a particular amount of coin. We phrase it very differently here. It makes it feel more religious almost, I think. But it's curious. It frames things in a religious sacrificial context, I think. What are we pulling open here? Oh, it's the mouth itself, isn't it? Yikes. Oh, it. Okay. Ugh. A couple of the formulations are pretty interesting. To obtain rights, one offers taxes is a really interesting formulation. This would have been pre social contract theory? No? Yeah, De Groot, Hobbes, Pufendorf, Locke, and Rousseau and Kant all would have been working in the century after this one, in the mid to late, I mean, throughout the 1600s, throughout the 17th century. So that would be post this. And it is a conceptualization of the Age of Enlightenment, which is sort of born out of this kind of religious questioning. The the previous to this, there was like divine right of kings, and like rulership was built into religion. Theology and political power were very much interconnected, which leads to a lot of the circumstances present here. To obtain rights, one offers taxes. To obtain wages, one offers labor. So then, what must one offer up to obtain the truth of the world? And I think the scene gives us the answer. At this point in time, the answer is blood. Yes? I think that is the answer that's presented to us. Now, in truth, I think the real like broad answer is something like, what do you give up in order to obtain the truth of the world? You have to give up the belief that you already have the truth of the world. That to me is the most fundamental first thing. First order of business is like a classic koan that has become very much popularized and honestly turned into almost a meme is your cup overflows. The story, or little mini poem story, is like a dude goes to a monastery wanting to learn the secrets of the universe, and the monk teacher puts out a cup in front of him and fills it with tea, and then he keeps pouring tea into it until it's like overflowing and overflowing and overflowing and overflowing. And the guy's like, "Wait, what the hell are you doing? Stop it! Cut it out!" And the master goes, "You are just like this cup. You're not empty and ready to receive wisdom. The wisdom just pours out of you because your cup already is full. So you have to give up your belief that you already have an understanding of the truth," which I think matches what actually happens over the course of the episode and what we've presented and set up for Rafal. How do you obtain the truth of the world? First, start by recognizing that you don't have it yet. Then you can start questioning. Beautiful, wide cityscape shots. Early 15th century, somewhere in the kingdom of P. I don't know where this could be geographically. My brain mind says Italy, France, continental Europe, Germany. I think based on the naming schemes, like Vienna or Germany or Austria or somewhere in there might make sense to me. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's unimportant because we're in something like fantasy. Historical fiction, yeah? Is that, oh, you know what? It's got to be a palace. This is a kingdom. So that's a palace, and then I imagine that that is the core church of the city. We'll have to find out. The church has not been named. We haven't made any indication toward Christianity specifically or monotheism really directly either. The collar, the whole getup and everything is very Catholic, very, very Catholic church. But we'll see as we move forward whether that's actually being carried over or if we're using some sort of like fictional religion to very closely mirror the real religion. I think the overall setting feels pretty good, feels solid. I like the way that light plays off of these walls and stuff. I mentioned before that it reminds me of some of the setting scenes in Mushoku Tensei. But I'm not like bowled over by the beauty of this show. I am impressed by its like slow intricacy and focus on a not realism isn't the right word because it's nowhere near reality, right? Like that's not really real, but it's not very anime. It's not very bombastic. It's very toned down, very much in our real world. And on that front, it reminds me very much of Vinland Saga. I think that a lot of the tone and a lot of the feel and a lot of the character design, and a lot of the aesthetic sense of the world is not very dissimilar. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like they came out in close proximity. They're both wait, are they? No, wait, Vinland Saga is what studio? Huh, they're not both Madhouse Productions. And then season 2 is Mappa. Huh, it's kind of all over the place. Okay, still, it reminds me of that. And the historical fiction kind of vibes remind me of it too. He is bright. We get introduced to all of this darkness and despair, this class divide, and we find out that our boy is on the other side of it. He's doing quite well for himself. He's got a little astrolabe at his belt. He's got a little book, leather bound. He's got clean clothes and a ruffled collar. He's in the upper class, and he's made his way there not by birth, but by skill almost, yeah? This first interaction is really striking to me because we do it totally silent, almost overwhelmed by the music or the sound design. Hey, bro, what's up? How's it going? And later we find out that he has disdain for this guy. He's like, this guy's just one of those fools, right? An NPC to be manipulated, to pave my way. Hmm. And I think that's our first introduction to the idea that Rafael kind of sucks. He's kind of a dickhead. Yeah? He's kind of scheming, kind of conniving, kind of arrogant, kind of thinks he's better than everybody and thinks he knows how to manipulate them to get what he wants. And all of that is true up to this point in his life. That has been the case. Little shit. I get it. I get it. When you're young and you are praised continuously for being brilliant, for being intelligent, for being at the top of your class, it can really get to you. I was an arrogant little shit for part of my growing up. And it took some doing to change that. I still have a streak of it in me, I'm sure. The degree to which I am conscious of it, I try to manage it. But um I grew up very much like that. I grew up continuously praised by academics and by peers, continuously like achieving very high. And that can go straight to your head, man. It can go straight to your head and make you think that you've got this world all figured out. There are a whole bunch of like 10-year-olds who think they've got the world fucking figured out. They can be dangerous too, especially if they never grow up into realizing how small they are. It's kind of, in a way, it's a microcosm of the whole thing. We, humanity, arrogantly proclaim ourselves the center of the universe and the knowers of all things and the arbiters of all good and justice and all that is right and good in the universe. That's us. We're good at that, but we're also like 10 and don't know anything. So he heads to school, and that's when we turn here. 3 for Wojcik, 2 for Mazur. I assume this is how many nails it took for them to give up the truth and begin to recant, yeah? How long did it take? For Belansky, do you know what troubles people the most when their nails are removed? And it's such a silly question, right? It's like, it hurts, obviously, but he looks for a more complex answer. How interesting. I feel like that relates somehow, but I don't really know. Oh my, an answer, because especially because he says an answer befitting a scholar. It's like, that's the way a scholar thinks. You're looking for the interesting part. You're looking for the intrigue. You're looking for the false part. You're looking for the part that's not obvious. And that's what's gotten you in trouble, bud. No, dude, it's the pain. It's the fact that it hurts you. That's what people don't like, is that it hurts. That's why we do it. His voice and intonation. So yeah, it's great. It's great. Um, Fairly recently, I read Gene Wolfe's *The Shadow of the Torturer*, which is one of the most fascinating and strange and kind of incomprehensible novels that I've ever read, in part because I haven't finished the rest of the series, and time is a little wonky. But a huge portion of that book is about this boy growing up trained to be a torturer in a torturer's guild as part of what he does. And the way that those people come to grips with what they do as their profession, as it's normalized. It's like a normal, respected job. People are afraid of them because they're torturers, but it is a normal, respected job, and they like go and eat communally and do all sorts of things, and then they'll go and they'll flay what do they call them? They call them like supplicants or something like that. They'll go and they'll flay somebody, and that's what they do, and it's just on the whims of some like horrible court, and what a crazy book. Anyway, that this reminds me of that because torture. I'm glad we don't have like I was about to say, I'm glad we don't have significant institutionalized torture anymore. Now we just call it enhanced interrogation. That's what it is. I'm glad we don't do enhanced interrogation anymore. Whoops, never mind. Yes, we do. Heh heh heh. Yeah, this focus on details, on the candle, on the smile, on the faces. It's like you're stuck in this room and all of your sensory input is from the little bits around you, and that's all you can latch on to stop thinking about the overwhelming pain. Oy, oy. Now, you've hidden blasphemous research materials. Where are they? And his eyes kind of glaze over when he's doing this, when he's in this part. It doesn't feel like he takes great joy in it or anything. He's just doing it. He reminds me of some great movie villains. He reminds me a little bit of the what's his name from Inglorious Bastards? Hans Landa. He reminds me a little bit of Christoph Waltz's Hans Landa with that sort of level delivery that until you know who he really is behind the surface, you think maybe this guy's reasonable. Maybe we can talk it out. And then you realize that that's layers and layers of an act. Hui! You have no power over the truth. Indeed. Indeed. If Platonic ideals exist, then there is no changing them. They are as they are. Truth is true. You cannot change that. Oh dear, are you strong-willed? He doesn't care if it's the truth. That's not what this is about. This isn't about truth. This is about power and control. What a bother. This could take a while. Just get it over with. I only have 10 nails. Oh, don't worry. We've got all the time in the cosmos. Nails grow back, you know. Wonder how many nails Hubert lost and regrew. Because we see very poignantly when he first steps out, his feet are in sandals and he has toenails. Interesting. This is not a very tall building. It's not a cathedral, and yet we frame it almost as though it is one. This is the school, the place of learning, and it is framed as on high up above us. I think that's kind of interesting. What lies at the center of the universe? Love! The center of the universe overflows with God's love. Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, the Bible do be saying that, I suppose. I guess we can say that. That's fair. But the true, so confident that he's got this. I know the answer, no problem. All he's got to do is repeat the party line. And he's good at it. He's really good at saying the words that need to be said. I relate. I relate. I relate. I can bullshit with the best of them, but I don't like to. I much prefer to talk about striving toward truth at the very least. But this is familiar to me. It's familiar to me. It also reminds me, there was a period in my life where my dad became religious, and began insisting that we go to church frequently. but before that, I was raised in an essentially non-religious household. My mother is a non-practicing Jew. My father is essentially a non-practicing Christian, and that was the way it was. In early childhood, for a number of years, my mother and I would go most Sundays to a Unitarian Universalist church, I guess is what it's called, a place of worship. Anyway, big. It was held at a public library with a big hall, and then there were like group studies for kids and stuff. And I loved it. I thought it was great. We learned essentially comparative religious theory, um, with a strong Judeo-Christian focus, but by no means was that all that we talked about. And basically would focus on different religions and different spiritual belief systems each week for a long time. I can't speak to the quality of every Unitarian Universalist group in the world, but if you want to find a generally welcoming group of people who are interested in like the value of these various spiritual and religious systems without becoming too directly attached to actually believing in them, but instead extrapolating things about us as humans and our existence in this world from the way that we believe and our need for worship, our um, desire for understanding, and a place for the unknown, a place for the mysteries to go. I think that Unitarian Universalism is a pretty great example of that. You know, there are very few churches that will happily talk about the teachings of Jesus, the teachings of Muhammad, the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings that come from the Hindu faiths, Zoroastrianism, Jainism, all across the board, and also at least pay lip service to the existence of the flying spaghetti monster. It's a pretty cool thing, and I'm very grateful that I got to spend time in it growing up. Also, there were really good snacks most of the time, and that was a significant reason for going, because there were little bite-sized brownies and egg and croissant sandwiches and all sorts of yummy things. That's how you get people to be religious, is you bring the good food. Uh, but then a little bit later, when I was a teenager and some like strange conflicts happened around like sexual development, pornography, and growing up as a teenager in the world, I think my dad thought that bringing some Christianism would do a thing. So we ended up going to church for a while, and I never really believed. I never really like uh, uh, believed. It's the word for it. But at the same time, I had the intellectual capacity to read and was fascinated by like this historical context and religious context of the Bible itself and criticisms and theories around it. And so I read a lot of them, and would very often, when we would do like Bible studies or stuff, find myself engaged in these kinds of conversations or in sort of answering questions, and answering the right way and being praised for it is a loop that you can get stuck into. Even if you don't actually like align with what you're saying, having everybody else be like, wow, you're such a good scholar. Man, you should really think about joining and being a part of the church. It's like, wow, a place that accepts me and is welcoming and thinks that I'm good for stuff. How cool. It can be really, it can change you. Um, Thankfully that did not happen to me. I spent some time there, and then it all kind of fell away. But an interesting time that helps me, I think, relate to this a little bit. Of course, we all know what the truth is. The center of the universe is the Earth. Of course, we know this for many reasons. There's tons of evidence that points in this direction. This is really cool. Uh, when you already have the answer, it's not that hard to take most of the evidence and fit it into that answer. And then it's not that hard to dismiss the pieces that don't quite make sense. Yeah. This is, I think, the foundation, the fundamental reason that the scientific method is what it is. The scientific method is one of disproof, not of proof. We do not put forth a theory and then try to prove it true, because that's easy. That's easy. To find evidence that supports a theory is not hard. To find evidence that negates the theory, and to eliminate all sources of evidence that negate the theory, that's hard. That takes some doing, and it's counterintuitive to the way that we like to think. We like to come to a conclusion and then backwards justify how we got there. We come to the conclusion, it's true in our minds, and then we turn our attention to all the information in the world and we grab everything that could align with it and we ignore the parts that don't. And we do this every day in every decision that we make throughout our lives. But we also do it when we're not trained, when we're not focused, when we're not aligned to something higher than us, in this case, the scientific method. It happens then too. If we don't actively disprove our assumptions, they rule us. Aristotle pointed out a long time ago, stuff falls downward, and you make a big pit and you drop stuff and it falls to the center. So the earth must be the center. Why would there be any inclination that that force that acts that way here would act the same way toward the center of a different celestial body over there? Crazy, absurd. What a weird assumption to make. The lowest sphere in the center of the universe. Sono tori da! You honor me, my son. And they get this little back and forth that's very important for introducing them as father and son-ish. So he took him in. It's gonna be rough when he casts him out, isn't it? No, the bragging begins now. Raphael is going to university at age 12. What are you gonna study? Math? Medicine? Geography? Well, it's obvious. Theology. As we all know, and he's very beatific in this moment. He's basically like, he's ramping himself up. He's pumping himself up. He's like, I'm gonna be doing that, and that's the best thing ever, which means I'm the best ever. The highest academic field. We owe our lives to God, and a theologist analyzes the Holy Scripture logically so that we may deepen our faith. What happens if you apply logic to the Holy Scripture and it balks at the logic? What happens if you apply logic to the Holy Scripture and it doesn't deepen your faith, but makes it shallower? Uh-oh. And then he comes through with these lines that raised my suspicions. I don't believe I have any more talent than anyone else. I've simply been lucky. It's nothing about me. No. I'm just modest. Mm-hmm. Now that's the right line. Yeah. We like modesty. Modesty's really important. Arrogant people get cut down. If you I said it when it was happening, you don't want to tall poppy yourself. So this is a thing from a British social thing. They call it tall poppy syndrome. And British culture around people standing out, being really, really standout genius, good at stuff, is not great. It's not great. Some cultures are very pro that and put effort into those people, and some are about dragging them down. Or in the case of the British cultural tall poppy situation, the tallest poppy is the one that gets sliced off, and that sucks. You get cut down a peg. Everybody treats you like, hey man, dream smaller. There's oh shit, what's Eddie Izzard has a famous joke from his stand-up special, Dressed to Kill. Oh wow, the whole lyrics of the whole Dressed to Kill special are up on Genius. So let me find it. I'm gonna go straight for it. And I grew up in the 70s when the career advisors used to come to school and he used to get the kids together and say, look, I advise you to get a career. And what can I say? That's it. And he took me aside and he said, what do you want to do, kid? What you want to do? Tell me your dreams. And I'm like, oh, all right. I want to be a space astronaut, go to outer space, discover things that have never been discovered before. And he said, look, you're British, so scale it down a bit. All right. All right. I want to work in a shoe shop, then discover shoes that no one's ever discovered right in the back of the shop on the left. And he says, look, you're British, so scale it down a little bit, all right? All right, I want to work in a sewer then, discover sewage that no one's ever discovered, and pile it on my head, and then come to the surface and sell myself to an art gallery. And he said, what the fuck have you been smoking, eh? And he calls it a spirit of ex-empire, this thing of things can't be done, whereas in America, I thought there was a spirit of can be done, the pioneer thing. This feels like that. This feels like, you're at risk of being that tall poppy. It's like, whoa, scale it down a little bit. and we're doing just fine with it. Everybody's in the praise mode until we bring God into things. Until you question the fundament. I am merely lucky. Magnificent. An example to us all. Oh, stop. Oh, stop. And then we cut into his real internal. This world is so easy. I love the beats. I think that Ushio brings in some funky beats in order to accent some funky scenes, and I think it's pretty cool so far. We'll have to see how the sort of emotional musical landscape develops over time. This world is full of fools. I was born an orphan, so I've had my share of the bad. But above all that, I'm good at living smart, really good. My philosophy is to live rationally. If one ignores irrational emotions like love, avoids wasteful desires, and makes reasonable decisions, one can live comfortably. It's a fundamental belief system. I'm good at living smart, really good. And we now recharacterize the father-son relationship as one that the son has developed for his own purposes. Okay, got kind of two threads I want to talk about here. One, what happens when living rationally doesn't lead to the circumstances that you want? Two, this reminds me a lot, and it's because of something that I just watched earlier today, of a powerful criticism leveled at the self-help success podcast style world, where you've got like CEOs and industry leaders talking about how they got to be CEOs and industry leaders on podcasts that are on the surface to deliver actionable information to you so that you can follow in their footsteps and yourself become a wealthy, super rich industry leader, CEO, whatever, right? But it discounts a lot of factors, one of which is survivorship bias. Your philosophy has worked for you so far, acting rationally, doing all these things, and you have gotten very lucky, but he doesn't believe that it's luck, not really. He believes that it is his own volition that has led him to this place, that it is his skill. He says it very explicitly. Above all that, I'm good at living smart, really good. I did this. I am responsible for my circumstances. I made my business successful. I did it. It's because of me. And it's because of what I believe and what I did. And that means that if I were to transfer that information to you, it would work for you too. All you have to do is live rationally. But out of every 100 orphans who try to live rationally, how many of them get the sweet dream gig of a religious professor at a school taking them in because they're brilliant and giving them, clothes and housing and the chance to succeed? Does it really work that way? Or are you just riding a wave of continuous luck, believing that it is your own skill that has gotten you there? And if that's the case, what happens when your luck runs out? You're going to believe that your skill will carry you forward, but it won't. And you'll find that you are actually helpless and adrift because you didn't have power over your circumstance in the first place. When this is applied to like the self-help podcast stuff, it has to do with survivorship bias. Like the planes coming back, the people who succeed already believe that everything that they did is the reason that they succeed, but that's not necessarily the case. All of the complex circumstances that surround them have an impact too. So this thing, this confident ideology, this confident belief in living rationally, and that will lead to a good life. As long as you just avoid those irrational emotions, avoid the wasteful desires, and make reasonable decisions, everything will work out just fine. And that's a universal principle, but it's not. But it's not. It is beautiful and simple and sensible, though. And that is where that which is rational is always beautiful comes from. And that's what will be sort of the linchpin of Hubert's question about heliocentrism by the end of the episode. So the golden spiral, golden mean is like an enlightenment representation of true truth, right? It's something unarguable. It just exists. Now, whether you actually find it aesthetically pleasing or not is more a matter of opinion. But the spiral itself exists, and it is a mathematical ratio, and it does appear all over the place for reasons. It's rational and it's beautiful. But does that mean that that which is rational is always beautiful? I'm not sure. Depends on what you mean by beauty. This brings us into aesthetic philosophy, which is thousands of years old and changed a lot during the Enlightenment period that we're portraying here and the 200 years after it. By sticking to that belief, people now see me as dignified, wise, humble, and capable. Isn't that great? I could brag about knowing you. No, keep it down, man. I'm not that special. It's chill. People respect me right away. That's good to have around. You're a genius. Wow. A sage. Wow. No, Kami. A god. Uh-oh. Maybe don't say that. Humans cannot be gods. We've hit a wall. What's rational no longer applies. You're in the no-go zone. You're in the we don't say that even if it's true zone. You cannot say some things. And that means that there is no room for true rationalism. Because rationalism requires a clear, unclouded view of all the evidence. But we don't have that. We have a wall. Please retract that comment. So we've set up the torture, but that doesn't happen to people like us. But the pressure does, the same kind of pressure. And now we have our first recant. Everything is forgiven as long as you recant, as long as you don't hold to the line, as long as you bow. That's what it's really about. And we learn it from Hubert as well. We don't care if we change your mind. We care if we change your behavior. We care if we change your speech. You can believe whatever you want, but if you start saying it to other people, you're a danger to the order. You're a danger to the power system. That cannot be allowed. I take it back. I don't want to mess with the church. And there's no truth to it. It's fear. You take it back not because it's not true, not because you don't believe it, but because you are afraid of the repercussions. And that's the foundation of the power of the church in this time. Yeah? Fear. Simple. I take it back. Forgive me. You idiot. And Raphael knows this, right? He's a smart cookie. Can't say the bad things out loud, man. Jesus. Even if they're true. Oh, a favor. Is that a catalog of stars? Yeah, I love stars. Stars are great. That's cool. Stop looking at them. You've got to dedicate your entire time to theology. No more astronomy. And it's like the kid's favorite toy has been ripped away from him, and his dad has told him that it's evil. That's devil stuff there, kid. Don't do that anymore. No, it's not quite so bad. It's beneficent. It's just he wants him to be focused on God, you know? Focus on the stuff that matters. But it's the first wrinkle. Yes, sir. Go pick up my acquaintance. Wasn't he arrested as a heretic? Should we really take him in? Yeah, of course, it's fine. He recanted, so they're releasing him. That's 2. We've now emphasized this. As long as you recant, it's all okay. It's all okay. Just toe the line. Willingness to forgive sins is a sign of devout faith. I think this is one of the 2 fundamental weaknesses of the church's position. The first is that it's not actually true. That is, you can find evidence that supports the church's view of reality, but there is a lot more evidence that you have to discount because it flies in the face of reality. Venus has fucking phases, man. There's no reason it would have phases unless it went around an object, right? But I think the other weakness is that the church needs to maintain its facade. And so it has to do things like this. It is bound by premises like willingness to forgive sins is a sign of devout faith. And so it cannot simply eliminate those who go against it whole cloth. it has to go by some level of the rules. Of course, it writes the rules so it can change things, and plenty of torture, plenty of people do get burned, all that jazz, but a will toward forgiveness is a little bit of a weakness. I wonder if it's one that we can exploit. Actually, you know what? We already have. Hubert is alive. His ideas, his theories have not died with him. He is still alive. And that is because you can lie and use the system. It's a weakness. A place to live as well. Now I'm counting on you. Ooh, quite a face. I think this is a good moment to talk about the facial designs. I think they're interesting. I'm not in love with them yet. I like that we have mostly fully drawn noses and facial features. They remind me of JoJo's a little bit on that front. Not quite as like architected, you know, not quite stone statues as JoJo's characters. And then the sort of dark outlines, as opposed to any attempt at direct eyelash drawing or anything like that, I think work really well, and they create an ability that for us to, if we put any curves in the outside of the eyelid, like this one has this little, it's dented down a little bit, right? I can't really do it with my eye, but you get what I mean? Those subtle changes get accented really heavily by the thick, dark line on the outline, and I think that makes those emotions read really effectively. I also like the sort of eye and pupil design in general. I think they're really cool, and they get accented here in a really beautiful way as we look up at the stars for the first time. And Raphael wonders. It's only natural. I've got no time for it, and yet the music of the spheres calls to you, yes? Resonates with your heart. No, stop it! Forget about the sky! It doesn't matter. There was a time when I saw irrational beauty in the orderly movements of the stars, but when I looked closer, every star's movement had its own complex calculations. Continuing isn't rational. Plus, it's too far away. We can never reach the heavens. So he comes up with reasons to sate or put away his craving for knowledge. Down the street to meet a heretic. It's not a smart way to live, and the evidence of that is right in front of you. As horrifying as it can be. Not just one, it looked like 3, right? Or was it just one on... No, it looks like 3. Maybe there are others for different reasons to be executed. The faces in this crowd are interesting. They're not screaming, jeering, pleased by this. They're watching. They're all, I don't know, they've got strange expressions. His eye still feels or looks like it's moving around. He makes eye contact with it, and there's connection there. Yeah? To us, it can't help but read as like, that might be where I'm headed. And that's the point, isn't it? That's the point of those public executions, is to make you think, that could be me. That could be somebody I love. Better not say anything wrong against the church. And so we build this fear pressure. Come on, they defied God. Surely they had a chance to recant. Surely they had the opportunity to not do evil things and not deserve this punishment. So they didn't, so they deserve the punishment. They brought it upon themselves. Then he meets the torturer. Hurry up and burn already. What's with that guy? Let's get out of here. Just a passing moment. So he arrives, he asks for Hubert, and out strides a giant of a man. With all his toenails, it looks like. Grayed like a, wow, like crazy character. Suspicious to the core. I look forward to knowing you. Wow. I know. He's standing there with this. I offer no benefit to you. You have nothing to gain by convincing me that you're a good boy. You don't have to win my favor with a false smile. We get this from this distorted, broken face. Wow. This is cool. It's really striking. I also love the shadows on him. He is neat. Way to introduce a character. What? Now, please guide me. He's near blind, yeah? His eyes have failed. Yes, such an honor. I owe it to God and everyone who is. Will you study astronomy? He sees the astrolabe. Just a hobby I've been thinking of quitting. I'm going to study theology. You're rather insincere. Huh? So we walk in silence for a time before Raphael breaches the big question. What were you researching before? He doesn't answer. Is that wax tablet your record? Yes. Snatches it away from him. And then praises it. Excellent. Your work is good. You've seen all the way to the 6th magnitude. You have good eyes. Oh, but these are just little notes. It's fine. It's fine. I can continue my research with these. Did you say research? But you have to abandon your research. Otherwise, the church is going to kill you. You've recanted. You said you weren't going to do that anymore, right? It's who I am. It's a different idea. It's not about living rationally and towing the line and seeing what you can get from the world. It's who you are. I am a scholar. No matter what anyone says, I will never abandon it. Huh? Oh no, I recanted. And I will keep up the act in order to avoid being caught. But I'm revealing this to you because I'm about to blackmail you. What a twist! What fun! Especially because they're actually going to kind of become allies. It's going to start as blackmail, but Raphael is compelled by these ideas. My eyes have weakened, so I'll use yours. I'm here to finish what I started, and I'll jump through fire to do it. If you refuse, I'll kill you. If you interfere, I'll kill you. If you don't follow what I say, I'll kill you. So you will continue astronomy for my sake. Sick! I'm not an unreasonable man. Yeah, we'll see. So he introduces him to a better spot. He should be burned alive. I won't go with him tomorrow. I know a better spot. You're in for a surprise. Oh, and there's a cool track going during this, isn't there? It's a little bit funky. Way too dangerous. I'll never go. And then there he is. I love that we cut right to it. I never knew they could be so clear. He watches him make the records. Incredible. Again, the praise. So what will you use these for? What is this research that we're working on? What are you accomplishing? Dangerous, taboo, forbidden knowledge. It compels Raphael, right? He's drawn to it. He wants to know. I'm going to look up Aristarchus really quick. 310 to 230 BC, first known heliocentric model of the universe. So long before Copernicus, Aristarchus had that first model. Do you know the shape of the cosmos? Of course. Earth at the center, everything performs complex revolutions around it. Really complex in order to deal with all the weird shit that we see in the sky. It's hard to understand, but we know it's true. We already know it's true. There's no need to hash it back over. Ptolemy discovered the truth, and nobody would go against Ptolemy. And plus, there's all this evidence that makes this make sense, right? Earth has to be special, so of course it would be at the center. That lines up. So then he asks, is there beauty in such truth? And I'm intrigued by the formulation of the question, because I think from one perspective, there is immense beauty in that idea. The idea that everything is ordered together by God, like a clockwork through the heavens with Earth at its center and everything else spinning in complex patterns around it to create interesting patterns in the sky of lights and shiny things and day and night so that humans might have days and nights and sleep and wake, and all of that is of course natural, like can't imagine another planet that would be tidally locked where a civilization would develop where they don't have day and night cycles. That's impossible, right? This is the norm. This is the way it is. So all our assumptions fall into it. And I think in that way, there is great beauty to it, especially if you are, well, You know, is it beautiful to Rafal when other people say, "You're a genius, dude, man, your work is so incredible"? I think it is, in a way. I think in a way it is. It's like, yeah, yeah, of course I am. Everything's centered around me. And I think that's the way that humanity felt about being at the center of the universe. It's like, what could be more beautiful than a perfectly orchestrated dance of the heavens, all centered around what's going on here right now in the cosmic battle between good and evil that happens here on Earth as laid out in the Bible. Like, that's the most beautiful possible thing. So it's a really interesting formulation. But the conclusion that they come to is very different from mine. What? Is the universe you described beautiful? And he stops. Well, I mean, that's an individual sense thing. It's not a truth thing. He didn't answer. Do you find it to be beautiful? So he accepts that frame. It's not a science thing, it's a you thing. And all the stars, as though the world is dissolving and becoming hazy in front of him, like the things that he believes and knows aren't quite clear anymore. We do a lot of focus on the hand and the stick, and he grips something a little bit later. It does seem a little too complicated to be really, like, beautiful. Every planet has to be calculated separately, and they're all on their own independent weird paths that circle them and center them and bring them close to the Earth sometimes and further away sometimes. The movements, he's grasping at it, grasping at it. It's not a single orderly system, and that doesn't seem quite rational. There should be some underlying principle that makes it all make sense, right? In that sense, he grips the stick. We do this frame with, like, none of the outline around his eyes. It's just flat. And it's is it on ones for the lip movements? Oh yeah, a couple of them. Utsukushiku. To make it really distinct what he's exactly saying. That's cool. But, you know, maybe that it's unfortunate that it's not as beautiful as I would want it to, but that doesn't mean that it's not true, right? Of course, there could never be one system that accounts for the entire universe, one equation that accounts for all of reality. That's insane, right? Everything's so different. Everything's so different. It couldn't all be the same fundament, could it? Although religiously, there is a belief that everything is the same fundament, that it's all born from God. There could never be one system that accounted for the entire universe. I think that phrase flies in the face of the religious explanation as well. But we live in a modern world, and we've had a man named Albert Einstein who existed, and 100 plus, I'm not actually sure, 100-ish years of math and physics coming after it. And we do have essentially one system or a couple systems, sets of equations that account for just about everything. Except for the weirdness. Except for the weirdness. There's some weirdness there too, but there could never be assumption again. What if there is? It makes no sense to fault the universe for that. No, it's a major fault. I don't want to live in a world that isn't beautiful. Yeah, but you're putting it backward. Putting beauty before logic. The theory that we have might be complicated and not beautiful, but it's highly accurate. It predicts reality perfectly. It explains everything exactly. No problem. It fits the evidence. We have fit the evidence to the curve. As long as the stars move and the sun rises. But what if that is an illusion? What if they do not move? Huh? Crazy. Well, so what's moving? The observer. Us. But that's bam. And it strikes with the force of truth. The force of epiphany. We descend Morning comes because the Earth rotates. An orbital revolution. The sun remains still, and thus the cosmos is unified under a single order. Common sense, the foundation of many of your assumptions, overturned. The church, enraged by necessity. And reason and beauty finally are integrated to become one. Truth and beauty become one and the same. That is, in many ways, the project of the Enlightenment, is to make beautiful the truth of the world and make true the beauty of the world. Make them one and the same. Beautiful reason, and that is my research. Heliocentrism. How about that? Okay, that's episode 1 of Orb on the movements, about the movements of the Earth. I like it. I like it. There is a lot of thematically resonant stuff going on here. It's basically all the themes that I expected: religion and knowledge of truth against questioning, rationalism. But our core character is not who I expected him to be. He is engaged with and aligned with the church, but questioning, a little bit too curious. And that curiosity is going to cause him great internal strife because his deeply held beliefs about how he should be and act in the world have come up against quite a wall. Now he needs to see what's over on the other side. But seeing what's on the other side is beyond dangerous. It compels many of these heretical men to speak what they have found, to the point that they will not recant and are burned for it. And now Raphael finds himself compelled down the same path with all its risks. It is beautiful. Interesting. Okay, thank you very much for watching this first episode of Orb on the movements of the Earth with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If I need to find a different version, please let me know in the comments or in the Discord. If you'd like access to Discord to chat with other people about this show and other shows that I watch, as well as to vote in polls when I actually do polls for the other shows that will be ending soon and new shows will be popping in, check that out. It's all linked on the Patreon, as well as early access to next week's episode, which will be up on the Patreon when this one goes live on YouTube, and we'll continue rolling like that with one week early access on the Patreon as we move through the show. Thanks so much for joining me for this first episode. I'm looking forward to a fascinating historically fiction journey with you and to exploring what it means to know things and why we care. Thanks for joining me once more. Much love. Peace.